All right.
Yeah, they hate when you elevate.
ATP, what it do with your boy Clayton Moore Rain? It's that ATP Combat Media Show. Shout out to all my subscribers. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I do invite you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit your bell icons as well so you are getting alerts when all this content is dropping. So Gervonta Tank Davis seems to be frozen out of the 135 division right now. Well, at least from the fights that I guess everybody wants to see, right, including myself. But what's driving this? Gervonta Tank Davis came in from his hiatus this year, gave us a great showing against a Frank Martin. What an exciting fight that was, and in Gervonta Tank Davis fashion, explosive ending to the fight as he stops Frank Martin with a left uppercut, finishes it off with a straight left hand, and puts Frank Martin out of his misery. First time Frank Martin's been down as well as been stopped in his career, and we were ready for this new chapter to start for Tank Davis, where he was actually going to fight the fights that the boxing fans wanted to see him in, against those slick fighters, against that generational talent, the Shakur Stevenses, the Lomachenko, the Devin Haney. Some people rumored the Teofimo Lopez's. Right, there were rumors out there about other potential fights that could be there, but he did mention there was 6 fights. Now, up to my memory, I don't remember him actually giving all 6 fights that he was planning on doing, but 3 of the fights, the Devin Haney, Lomachenko, and the Shakur Stevenson, seeming to be the ones that were on that list. But today, knowing that Tank Davis was supposed to have a date locked away, that the PBC was supposed to be showcasing Tank Davis to fight, what is it, November 9th or November 2nd, if I'm correct, and that we were expecting to hear news by now about who he was going to fight against. Now, after the Frank Martin fight, the Lomachenko fight was a fight that was online for him to fight, right? He was supposed to be fighting against Lomachenko. Negotiations were supposed to be beginning between them, and it seems like on the first day of negotiations, whatever happened in that first meeting, Lomachenko walked away from that situation saying, listen, I'm not interested in fighting for the rest of the year. I want to fight at the beginning of next year, the first quarter of next year, 2025. That came as a shock to the boxing space, as people have been calling for the Gervonta Tank Davis to fight these fighters, and it's always been looked at from the outside looking in that Gervonta Tank Davis had the power to make these fights, and that the reason these fights weren't happening was because he wasn't sending out these offers. He was the A side, right? Remember Devin Haney trying to make a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis and getting the Turkey Al Sheiks of the world involved, trying to get money up, get that vested interest that a lot of content creators were saying was needed in order to entice Gervonta Tank Davis into a fight. But look, we're at present day. It seems as if now that Gervonta Tank Davis is open to fighting all these fighters, all of a sudden, the whole entire algorithm has gone real cold and quiet. What's driving this right now? Gervonta Tank Davis is supposed to be the biggest payday for these fighters, and they're also supposed to be lined up trying to get into the Gervonta Tank Davis sweepstakes. Just like, let's say, a Canelo Alvarez, where all these fighters are lined up. Canelo Alvarez has his pick of the litter on who he wants to fight. The question is, who's he going to fight first and when he's going to fight them? Because everybody knows when you get in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, he is guaranteed to be your biggest payday. And we were under the assumption that this was the same case for Tank Davis. Raises questions, makes you raise your eyebrows and wonder, is it everybody's biggest payday? I mean, I don't get into the money in, money out as much as other spaces get into it. So I'm sure that they can enlighten us a little bit better, but it does seem like a lot of fighters who should be lined up and asking for this fight, looking for their biggest payday, don't seem to be that either interested or they're not stressing it that much. What is it that's driving them? We have Shakur Stevenson, who was supposed to be fighting Joe Cordina in October. And according to Shakur Stevenson, communication was open between him and the Tank Davis team about availability, but no actual offers were sent over to Shakur Stevenson. Why? I wonder what's holding that up. I mean, we know what's going on with Lomachenko, and Devin Haney seems to be in the conversations of making a return. Rumors of him potentially fighting Liam Paro for an IBF super lightweight championship belt, which is interesting within itself because we know that Devin Haney has issues. I don't want to say making the weight. He makes the weight, but he may have issues making the weight in a healthy way. So one has a lot of questions to ask, as it does seem from the outside looking in that Gervonta Tank Davis is having a very difficult time putting together a fight the fans want to see. Everybody's giving rumors. I've heard things from Lamont Roach up to Rayo Venezuela to Lomachenko coming back to the table. Now I'm hearing people pushing for Gary Russell to be a potential opponent. I'm not too sure how much weight that's holding, where that's coming from. This is me just hearing what's going on in the content creation space. Because one thing's for sure, two things for certain. We're not going to hear that from Tank, right? When we hear from Tank is when we know it's solid. But until then, the algorithm's going crazy, and everybody's trying to figure out, as a lot of people put their whole entire platform based on Gervonta Tank Davis being active, and the less activity he gives, according to them, the less there is to speak on, because there's generally nothing going on in boxing unless Gervonta Tank Davis is fighting, right? So everybody's caught up and just waiting on Gervonta Tank Davis to give him some Kool-Aid. They've pointed fingers at Shakur Stevenson, saying that he's ducked Tank Davis, that it's his fault that the fight's not being made, that he should push more on Tank Davis. Get on social media, throw shots at him, give him some motivation to go ahead and send an offer out. Shakur Stevenson clearly doesn't feel that that's going to help anything, because as he stated in a Cigar Talk interview, shout out to Cigar Talk, he said, listen, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. If I say something, they'll say I'm clout chasing. If I say nothing, they'll say I'm not interested in the fight anymore. So look, at the end of the day, Shakur's going to play his cards the way he's played it. He's nursing a surgery and an injury he had to his left hand right now, trying to figure out how to get through that. From what I understand, Shakur plans on making moves in December, being through this surgery, healed up, back in the gym, trying to make a February date with William Zepeda, right? That's what his game plan is. Now, the injury to his hand is one of those injuries that have been known to take longer. I've heard 3 to 6 months for healing time, and then, also for him to have therapy to get the hand right. But, these athletes, they heal a little bit differently than the rest of us. I'm sure there's stem cell therapy and all types of things that the best medical attention that Shakur Stevenson could be that Shakur Stevenson can afford. So, maybe he can heal in 3 months and be back in a ring inside of 6 months. We'll see how that pans out. But I do think it's interesting to see this pan out, to see Tank Davis all of a sudden on the outside looking in as the space is moving around, fights are being made. We've got Keyshawn Davis lined up for November 8th. He'll be fighting Gustavo Lemos. He's this close to looking for a title fight very soon. The division is moving. Everybody seems to be active. But when it comes to Gervonta Tank Davis, it's very interesting. Compound that with the fact that the PBC has been so inactive this year, as they've only put on 4 events, one of them being a Tank Davis event, 2 of them being a Canelo Alvarez event, right? There's another event coming up later on, I believe next month, with Tim Zune. That's supposed to be finally they're giving out a free event, right? They're finally giving out that free event that they said with Tim Zune challenging for that IBF title. But look, at the end of the day, we got to sit back and watch. It's interesting to see it from out here, but you guys let me know, what do you think could be holding Tank Davis up on making a fight? Now, I'm sure we'll have the regular detractors who will just say everybody's scared of Tank Davis. Listen, I'll say it like this. If Tank Davis wasn't a fighter's biggest opportunity to make the most money they can make, I think Gervonta Tank Davis would get treated just like Jerron Boots Ennis, just like a lot of fighters who were just a threat, high risk, low reward. But the fact is, he's always brought the high reward. But to who? What high-end, high-level fighter has Gervonta Tank Davis made that much richer besides Ryan Garcia, who also helped Tank Davis make the biggest amount of money he's ever made, right? So when he gets into these conversations with the Vasily Lomachenkos and the Shakur Stevensons, people like Shakur Stevens, who people want to throw shots at, and although he's never been on a pay-per-view, has made his $2 million guarantees, $1.5 million guarantees, $3 million guarantees, right? Supposedly, right? That's what rumor has it. He's been in these fights. After all, Top Rank was offering him a $15 million deal for 5 fights. That's $3 million guaranteed each fight that Top Rank was offering him. And he walked away from that because he felt there could be more lucrative deals out there for him. And this fight that he had with Joe Cordina, he was supposed to, rumor is that he was going to make a guaranteed $5 million. So these guys, you know, knowing what they bring to the table, knowing that Tank Davis wanting to fight them raises their market value that much higher, are they offering enough? Is the money they're offering these fighters guaranteed to be their biggest paydays? Clearly, Lomachenko walked away from his biggest payday, walked away from it with no issues. And rumors going around now that there was actually potentially money issues, that potentially the offer that was on the table didn't entice him enough. I mean, we'll never know, guys, right? Let's be honest. We're not in these rooms. We're not invited to these meetings. So we got to sit out here and speculate like all the other fans. But it is interesting from the outside looking in to see this and try to figure out what is going on. Rumors now is Tank Davis may not even be fighting until December now. Pushed out date with an opponent still not locked in. An opponent still hasn't been locked in. I've even heard rumors of first quarter of 2025 expecting to fight with him. Maybe Lomachenko comes back to the table. I don't know. But let's see how it pans out. Gervonta Tank Davis, from the outside looking in, looks to be frozen out. Looks like he's not offering enough, or his team is not offering enough to raise the interest of these other fighters that are in the space right now. And I think it's interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think. What reason could there be that Tank Davis is having a hard time making these fights? I'm dying to hear. It's your boy Rain. It's the ATP Combat Media Show. Like I said, shout out to my subscribers. If this is your first time tapping into content, like I said in the beginning of the video, make sure before you leave, you hit the subscribe button, hit your bell icons, so you're making sure that you're getting alerts when all this content is dropping. And at this point, you out.